Hello, 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 everyone. How are you today? Welcome to today's today's chit chat. If you are brand new and you have no idea who I am, welcome. My name is Meshi, and I'm sort of going to be your little guide, kind of. So today, while you guys are hopping on, I thought that it would be a really nice day for us to kind of do a few things. So I'll just kind of run through the agenda with you. And of course, if you're not familiar with who I am, I'm on this channel anyway. I do general oracle readings. I also channel messages for you guys, anything that you need to know for the collective. And as we're moving forward, you will also notice that I'm also offering a lot more meditations and breath work and sound healing sessions as well. And in the next little while, you will probably notice that I'm going to start leaving some links in the description where you can actually, if you wanted to kind of join a community where we're kind of getting together regularly on a monthly basis and we practice together and we kind of talk about how we can work with energies in the most aligned way, then you will have the opportunity to kind of join in. And the reason why I kind of created that is actually just simply because I can always just create like one single offering and you may or may not go through it, but I think that there's definitely some serious power in community and in getting together with like-minded individuals that are sort of like on that same mission. So that's sort of like the idea behind it. Anyway, so today what I thought that we would do is actually we would chat a little bit about the full moon that's going to be coming up on Friday, March the 18th. I'm not really here to kind of give you an astrology update, but I'm here to kind of give you a little bit of information as to what you need to know and what has been coming through as far as messages are concerned. What were my downloads? And then you can kind of take them or leave them as basically just take it or leave it. If it resonates, then that's probably going to be for you to hear. If it doesn't resonate, then, then don't worry about it. Then just allow it to kind of fall away because then obviously that's not really for right now, and that's totally fine. So, couple of things. We will go through what has come through as far as general messages are concerned. I thought that we would kind of talk a little bit about how to sort of set up your environment for the full moon if you really wanted to work with this energy. What are some of the basic things? And we will do a little bit of a grounding practice to kind of help you get into that mindset. And whether you watch the replay, and I think that most of you will, it's kind of hard to time it so that most of you show up on live. So what I thought that we would do while there's so much commotion going on, and maybe there's a lot of commotion going on for you as well. So what I thought that we would do before we do anything, before we chat about the moon, before we chat about energies and astrology and all of that, I think that the really realistic way to kind of get started for all of us is to kind of ground and root down that energy. And for you to really be in that mental space where you're actually able to be open and receptive and kind of hear what we have to kind of share. So, to begin, what I would love for all of you to do is to just find a comfortable seated position. You don't actually have to lie down for this. Just find a nice, comfortable seated position where you don't feel like you're going to be disturbed. Make sure that your spine is nice and erect and nice and comfortable. And as you do, let's take a few deep breaths through the nose. And yes, there's lots of noise around me, which, not much we can do about it. So just take a deep breath through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And literally sigh it out. Fantastic. Let's do that one more time. And sigh it out. And at your next inhalation, if you feel safe to do so, then you can just gently close your eyes. And just gently close your eyes. Take a moment here in this moment to just settle and give your body permission to really drop in to where you are right now. Gently tuck your chin in. Rest the tongue at the roof of the mouth. Drop your shoulders if you're holding so much tension in your shoulders. Softly place your hands face up on your thighs. A nice neutral spine, not too erect and also not really slouching. So just give it a nice neutral space. And really tune in to that pressure that your body creates as you're seated on the ground or in your chair. Can you tune into that sensation? And as you begin to follow the rhythm of your breath, take a moment to really witness the quality of your breath. Perhaps tune in of what a deep breath really feels like for you at this moment. Maybe a deep breath is actually generally a pretty shallow breath, but for you, that's all you can do at this moment, and that's perfectly fine. And as you take a moment to really connect with the body, judgment free, and without really needing to make any adjustments to how your body is really feeling right now, begin to follow that beautiful rhythm that your inhale and your exhalation creates. And see if you can continue to follow that. And as you follow, can you soften and can you drop in into your body a little bit more? How quickly can you allow your body to relax in this present moment? Can you see your breath in your body like a trunk with the roots so solid and stable that no matter what comes, what else are coming and going, it knows that it's very temporary because the roots go much, much deeper than what meets on the surface. And just with each breath, send more and more roots down into the earth, connecting and grounding and becoming more solid in your own energies. Now just take a moment and see if you can follow the sound. Can you drop in deeper? Just bring your attention back into your body. And just know that any thoughts that come and go, just allow them to float in and out of your consciousness. This is perfectly normal. Can you see yourself as that deeply rooted, solid tree that is unshaken by all of the elements that are being thrown at it? And as you follow the quality of your breath, gently return, tuning in to the body. Maybe wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. And when you're ready, gently float your eyes open, looking down at a neutral space in front of you. And make a commitment to bring this quality of awareness to the remainder of your day in whatever you end up doing. And welcome back into the room. And thank you for this very short guided practice. I hope that it has served you. Let's just make sure that you guys are still connected. Here we go. And if you're just joining right now in the live, we're going to be talking about. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. We're going to be really talking about what's happening for this full moon and how you can prep energetically, and what were some of the messages that have come through loud and clear, by the way, in the past few days. So this has been. I feel like I'm energetically been prepping for this for quite a few days now. So I thought that we would just kind of chat so that you can prep, do the practice prior to the full moon. And I really wanted to give you guys the opportunity to actually allow your allow you to really get rooted, grounded, and really prep for this, whatever is kind of happening in your world. I'm going to be touching on a little bit on relationships and ultimately just what's really coming through. And then I will pull a couple of cards for you guys for the collective messages. And I will briefly cover what you can kind of do for the full moon. So let's get started. So this is going to be a full moon in Virgo. It definitely signifies I think that you guys feel it too. It signifies like this fresh new energy, which kind of came through quite clearly, actually, where it just feels like right now, as we're gaining more light, we're also gaining more awareness. And I think that you can kind of see that kind of manifesting in multiple ways. Um, I got this message loud and clear to just really honor the body. I think that a lot of you are really trying to absorb, not observe, absorb a lot of these changes, and unfortunately that ends up taking a toll on your body. So whenever we're changing the clocks, that also generally affects people. But more importantly, beyond just changing the clocks, what ends up happening is also you're gaining more light. And when you gain more light, what happens at first is it becomes really uncomfortable. So generally we like to think of light as such a wonderful thing, but honestly, it does take your eyes and your body to kind of recalibrate. So that's kind of what I like to think of with this week in particular, to give yourself the opportunity to recalibrate so that it doesn't feel like this utter shock and then you're out for a full week. So definitely honoring your own personal rhythm, whatever that may be and however that feels for you, is going to be very important. And I also had this visual, and I kind of pulled a card on it a couple of times this week. This concept of fog. So I got the message that the fog is lifting, which it really is. I mean, in multitude of ways. Like while we're raising consciousness collectively, we're also raising our consciousness on an individual level. So when that happens, it's literally like the fog is actually lifting, like that veil is thinning, which means that you're going to become a lot more aware of a lot more than you might not. And that's partially a good thing, and partially it can be quite terrible, because then you become aware of all the things that you've been unconscious of up to this point. So just really be gentle with yourself. I definitely got the message on just really honoring you first, rather than just trying to be all the things for everybody. And because when you give so much in multitude of ways, then it's essentially the surefire way for you to really not only burn out, but you're not really able to recalibrate your own energy. So that's going to be really, really important. The other part of it is to just really return back to love, to really return back to that concept of really honoring yourself first before you try to do anything else. And that was so interesting that I actually had this visual around just discernment. But discernment can be like, okay, cool, you're aware of the problem. No, discernment is also, it shows up in a really simple way. Sometimes it just means you shut down the news at like 8 o'clock, or you don't consume any more media after 8 p.m., or like it creates boundaries, it creates limitations of how much you're trying to take in, how much information you're trying to take in, and how much you're trying to really absorb. And also kind of zoom out from all of the micro and macro problems that you might be focusing on, because when you zoom out, you actually gain a different perspective. And even though you might be looking at the exact same thing, but you're just going to gain a different perspective. So use the energy of the full moon to not only use discernment for yourself, but to discern all of the things around you, because that will kind of give you just a different perspective. And then in you're not going to get so caught up in the emotion of it. You're not going to get caught up in what it actually means, because then you're giving yourself that space for you to really decide for yourself what it actually means. And this will actually come through quite a bit within your relationships. So I wasn't really getting so much that this will come through within your work or in your career or in your personal development. No, I was definitely getting a pay attention to how things are, kind of how problems are arising, and how not only the obstacles, but how like beautiful things are arising within your relationships, because all of the things that are kind of coming up is a direct mirror to not only what needs to fall away or what you need to stop paying attention to, but then also what you need to kind of expand on. And relationships are a really interesting way to kind of mirror back to us into our reality of what is working and what is something that you need to kind of shift within you, so that you're not dwelling on it for so long. So the zooming out, gaining some perspective, but I would also invite you to kind of see how that actually feels within your body. And it's so interesting. I've seen so many creators talk about, just like micro problems that really doesn't affect their day, but yet they're so caught up within that, like that's their reality. So it's like, this is what Kim Kardashian said. It's like, who cares? Like, she's not in your life. Like, what difference does it make? Like, and I mean, it sounds so simple and comical, but at the same time, it's just sort of like, do we really need to talk about that right now? Like, come on. So that's sort of what I mean by gaining a different perspective, which is really pay attention to what are you paying attention to and why are you paying attention to it? What are you reading? What are you consuming? And like that has come up like multiple times today alone, where it's like, what are you consuming through the screen right now? How does that really make you feel? Is it something positive, or is it something that kind of leaves you stuck and in fear? Please pay attention to that, because that will give you some guidance of where you are energetically, and also what needs to fall away and why you're doing the things that you're doing, which is a really big question ultimately. Let's talk about the full moon before we pull some cards. Full moon. What can we do with the full moon? If you've been working with your crystals, if you have crystals, this would be a fantastic time to reset them, help you create some beautiful boundaries, and help you create. If you feel like you're that people are like kind of crossing boundaries, this would be a really beautiful time for you to charge your crystals. Use the moonlight to really help them, get them reset, charge them, cleanse them, and then journal, journal, journal. But if you're not really big on writing down your thoughts, then I would take it into movement. So things like dance, intuitive movement, any type of activity that really raises your vibration and really makes you feel, from a, like on a visceral level, it makes you feel really good, is going to be very healing at this time. Again, just kind of honoring the body and how your body feels. So if you've overdone it at the gym, like this girl, take an extra day and take an extra day. It's okay. Like there isn't a gym police that will come and say, you should have done more. There's no such thing. And really have the courage, especially when you're feeling a level of uncomfortableness, when you're getting triggered, when, you know, just certain obstacles or certain conflicts are arising. Can you actually have the courage to sit with that? Can you sit within that uncomfortableness? Because knowing that it's very temporary will give you the freedom that you actually need to have the courage to sit within that, right? And without attaching any meaning to it, which is very hard. How do we not attach meaning to like what's happening? How do we not make it personal? By knowing that it's not personal, and like I'm saying this with such a light heart because none of it is personal. It's just feedback. And we forget that it's feedback. We think that it's about us. And like it's not. But knowing that it's not can give you an immense amount of freedom. But you need to practice it from the space of neutrality, because the moment that you kind of get caught up in the polarity of it, that's the moment that it creates division within your own heart, and then that kind of gets brought into other areas of your life. So it's just really deciding, how do I want to work with this energy so that it gives me the absolute best? It's almost like you're idiot proofing it. Like, how can I get the absolute best outcome from this? And when you start with that intention, I think that you're going to go significantly further than if you're just kind of looking at it like, when will this get better? When will someone come and save us? And when will it happen? Like, when will, like, the savior will come? And I'm unfortunately, you are like, I got this message loud and clear, in multiple times this week alone. You are ultimately responsible for your own savior. Like, you are your own savior. You are here to save you. And when you create your world from the inside out, and it really becomes more about tapping into it and giving yourself permission for your own joy, then that's all you will see, because that's the lens that you're putting on. And if you want to see everything from a place of lack and from a place of hardship, and I'm not saying, I don't want you to misunderstand this and say that hard things are not existent right now, because they absolutely are. And there aren't a lot of heartbreak, and there aren't a lot of disruption, and all the things. Yes, there are. But at the same time, like simultaneously, there's all these beautiful things that are also unfolding. So it's up to you which one you focus on. So these were sort of like the collective messages that I got that you can kind of use for this full moon. And let's take a look at what's coming through right now. Actually, I don't want to start with the tarot. So let's pull a few cards. And oh, thank you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that it's resonating. If you would like me to pull a card for you live, just let me know. Just drop your name in the comments. I would love to do that while I'm still here. And let's see what is coming up. What can you use as guidance besides what I just mentioned? Oh my goodness. I love how accurate a lot of these cards are. Okay, let's take a look at the aura. And if you're wondering which decks I'm using, I am using the Queen of the Moon Oracle, and I'm also using the Prism Oracle, which is one of my absolute favorites. It's sort of like it's sort of a favorite without me realizing that it's going to be one of the most accurate cards, but it really taps into the aura where we are at collectively, and it uses color. And let's see what the tarot has to say. Actually, before I go to the tarot, I wanted to show you guys this. So First, we have new beginnings. And I mean, literally, like, how accurate are we here? I can't even make this up. We're literally moving from winter into spring physically. Like, that's actually what's taking place. It has nothing to do with energies. We literally are moving from here you go. You had lots of snow. This week, you're going to have plus 15. Have fun. Beyond that, what else is happening? Beyond gaining more light and gaining more awareness, what else is happening? We're moving into more sunlight, which means that things become lighter, brighter, and it also starts a fresh new start. And a fresh new start can be super, like, it can be super triggering for a lot of you. So I'm not even going to lie and paint it as, it's hard for me to paint it as a terrible thing, because I'm always excited when there is something new begins, because then that means that we're ending one chapter and there's this new fresh something that's coming in. But I also think that somebody has to shovel the snow. I also think that you need to deal with, the muckiness of, the remains of the snow before we can get to this beautiful, you know rainbow and sunshine and butterflies. So I think that there is that transition that will feel really uncomfortable for most of you. And it will take a little bit of time for you to kind of prep your garden for those beautiful flowers to grow. And it will take some time for the snow to fully melt. Like, that takes time. So don't expect that to happen overnight, because when you do, I think that we're really, really, like this is how we actually imagine, like, oh, we're just gonna go from winter into spring, and that's not really it. It definitely signifies a new beginning, but I mean, in between this, there's slush, there's wet grounds, there is dogs bringing in all sorts of dirt. So keep that in mind, that you will need a little bit of rubber boots for the next little bit before we get to this beautiful garden. But the garden is there. It was always there, but it's coming. It's coming. I promise it is. And we have cleanse. What, again, cleansing to me is all about really what the full moon energy is all about, which is about releasing, but releasing it in a sense that you literally, like, imagine, like, it's washing away aspects of yourself that is outgrown, it's shedding, it's not serving you, it's not giving you, it's no longer really serving your highest potential of who you are here to be. And if you think about it that way, think of it literally like a physical cleanse. What we actually do generally as we move into the springtime. So, like, there's just so much symbolism happening there. It's not even funny, because whenever we're going through a cleanse, we're really going through a form of detox, and detox can be quite terrible for the first few days. But then there's that shift. So pay attention to when that shift happens, because it will happen. And just knowing when that shift happens, I think that will kind of, and it's almost like you need to focus on when the shift happens, because then you become a lot lighter. But until then, you will absolutely feel drained and terrible, which is kind of where I think a lot of us are right now energetically. Okay, let's see what the tarot has to say. And if you're just joining me live, hello, hello. Thank you for coming by. We're just talking about what you need to know for this full moon that's happening on March the 18th. What guidance can you use? If you're watching the replay, I'm going to do my best to create a timestamp here so that you can just pop on over to when we're talking about the crystals, when we're talking about the actual channel messages, and when we're talking about the tarot. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Page of Pentacles. What do we have on our minds? We have the one thing and the one thing only on our minds is basically, again, like this filtration. What are we filtering through? What is coming through? How can we really make the absolute best of it? Ultimately, that's kind of what I'm getting. How can we put on these beautiful colored rose glasses so that we see our environment from a totally different lens than what we've seen up to this point? How can you look at it from a lighter perspective? And I think that when you kind of focus on how you want to see your environment versus what you have been focused on up to this point, then it will help you shift. But focus on the cleanse, what the release. And journaling is going to be your best friend, as I mentioned a bit earlier. If you find movement is also going to be your best friend. Whenever you move, keep in mind you're releasing stuck energies. You're releasing literally stuff that has been sitting there for quite some time. So just keep that in the back of your mind and keep that in perspective, because I think those are the things that are going to help you the most, especially when you're working with the full moon energy. I feel like this one is an intense one personally, because all of these messages have been just coming like consistently for at least the past week and a half. And meanwhile, we're just gaining the light even more in the next 2 days. So we're not even quite there yet. And I definitely, it's almost like every single day there was something that I needed to kind of tell you guys about or share, because it was just so evident, especially within relationships. Really pay attention to how is that going? Who is actually there supporting you, and who is there to kind of just use you as a bouncing board to make them feel better. So kind of pay attention to just little nudges like that. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're not good people, but it might mean that the relationship is serving a totally different purpose than what you thought it did. That's what I've been noticing, where I thought that I had solid people in my life, but really I just serve as a certain role that I play within their journey, and then that's all I do. So it's not, if it's not reciprocated, pay attention to that. And then how can you shift that? So this is basically all I wanted to share with you guys. I hope that this has resonated. You can expect me back on Sunday. So this Sunday we're going to do another chat. I'm hoping to actually just hop on live here to chat with you guys at lunchtime. I don't want to wait until the very end of the day on a Sunday. So I think that we're going to shoot for lunchtime Eastern time. There will be a reminder here, but obviously, if you are subscribed to the channel and if you set the notification, it will notify you whenever I set the reminder anyhow. And we're going to be looking at the week ahead of what you guys need to know. And if you hop on live with me and you drop your name, I can also pull a card for you. So happy full moon, you guys. I hope that you guys are feeling fantastic and you guys are doing well and you're taking care of your mind, your body, your soul, all the things. Come back to the practice anytime. And I will see you guys again on Sunday. Bye.